Jessica Radcliffe loved the ocean more than anything. She believed the giant orcas were her friends, and the crowd trusted her smile. Chris Brown and ROSÉ were in the audience, ready to watch an amazing show. But in a single heartbeat, the arena went silent. The orca's power was too strong, and Jessica was pulled under the water. No one could look away. Everyone wondered the same thing. How could something so beautiful turn so deadly? Jessica Radcliffe was not just a trainer. She was known as the woman who could calm even the wildest orca with just her voice. Children loved her shows, families cheered her name, and she often said, "The orcas are not my job, they are my family." On that sunny afternoon, the stadium was full. Music played, cameras flashed, and people lined up to see the most famous act at the park. Even Chris Brown and ROSÉ were sitting in the front rows, smiling and ready to watch something magical. For Jessica, it was just another day of doing what she loved most. She stood by the edge of the pool, waving to the crowd before diving gracefully into the water. The giant orca swam beside her, brushing its black and white body against her arm. To the audience, it looked like pure harmony between human and animal. But beneath the surface, something felt different. The orca circled faster than usual. Trainers on the side exchanged nervous looks, but the show continued. Jessica, brave and trusting, smiled and reached out her hand. The crowd clapped even louder, thinking it was all part of the act. Then, it happened. In a single, terrifying moment, the orca lunged and grabbed Jessica, pulling her under with a force no human could fight. Gasps filled the air. Some people screamed, others froze in shock, and children buried their faces in their parents' arms. Chris Brown and ROSÉ looked on in disbelief as the music cut off and chaos broke out. Lifeguards rushed forward, alarms blared, and the once cheerful show turned into a nightmare no one would ever forget. And as the water turned violent, one haunting question filled every heart. Would Jessica make it out alive? The stadium was filled with screams. Parents held their children close, some covering their eyes, while others stood frozen, unable to move. The water splashed wildly, and all anyone could see was the black fin of the orca thrashing back and forth. Trainers on the sidelines shouted into radios. A rescue team ran toward the pool, throwing ropes and banging on the glass to try to distract the animal. But the orca did not let go. Its power was terrifying. Chris Brown and ROSÉ were still in shock. They had come to see a show, not a tragedy. Chris leaned forward, his hands gripping the railing, his face pale. ROSÉ covered her mouth, tears forming as she whispered, "Oh no, please no." Under the water, Jessica fought with everything she had. She had trained with this orca for years. She had fed it, cared for it, and trusted it. Now the same creature she once called her partner held her trapped beneath the surface. The crowd began to chant, "Help her! Help her!" But the seconds felt like hours. Emergency sirens echoed inside the stadium. A net was lowered, and one diver jumped into the pool, risking his own life to save Jessica. For one moment, the water went still. Everyone held their breath, hoping it was over. But then, suddenly, the orca dove deeper, dragging Jessica with it. Gasps and cries shook the entire arena. Chris Brown shook his head in disbelief, whispering, This cannot be happening." ROSÉ closed her eyes, unable to watch anymore. The clock was ticking, and the rescuers knew the truth. Every second underwater could mean the difference between life and death. And then came the chilling realization. The orca was not letting go.
The stadium felt like it had stopped breathing. People stood frozen, their hands over their mouths. The water foamed and splashed as the orca circled, its massive tail slamming against the pool. Every second Jessica stayed under made the fear grow stronger. The rescue team shouted orders, more ropes were tossed in, and a long pole was lowered into the water to push the orca back. But nothing worked. The animal was too strong, too wild, and Jessica was still trapped. Chris Brown whispered, "This is unbelievable," his voice shaking. Rosé squeezed her hands together, whispering prayers, her eyes never leaving the pool. They, like everyone else, were powerless. Then, the orca rose suddenly. The crowd gasped as Jessica's body appeared at the surface. She was limp, her eyes closed, her hair floating around her. For 1 second, hope returned. Maybe she could still be saved. Divers rushed toward her, nets ready, stretchers waiting. But before they could grab her, the orca jerked violently and dove deep again, pulling her down with terrifying speed. Children cried out, and some begged their parents to take them away. But nobody moved. Everyone wanted to know what would happen. On the side of the pool, one trainer screamed into the microphone, his voice breaking. "She's not moving! She's not moving!" The words echoed through the stadium like a hammer to the heart. The rescue team refused to give up. 3 divers went in at once, pushing against the massive orca with poles and nets. Finally, after what felt like forever, the animal let go. Jessica floated to the surface, motionless. The crowd broke into tears. Some people prayed, others shouted for her to wake up. Paramedics rushed forward, pulling her out of the water and laying her on the deck. They pressed on her chest, gave her air, and worked with all their strength. But Jessica did not respond. The longer it went on, the quieter the stadium became. Even Chris Brown and Rosé sat in silence, their faces wet with tears. Everyone knew the truth, but no one wanted to believe it. At last, one of the paramedics stood and shook his head. His words were simple, but heavy, echoing across the pool. "She's gone." The sound of crying filled the arena. Jessica Radcliffe, the trainer who had dedicated her life to the animals she loved, had lost her life in front of thousands. In the days that followed, people around the world mourned her loss. News channels replayed the tragedy, animal groups called for change, and fans laid flowers outside the marine park. Many asked the same painful question: should orcas ever be kept in captivity at all? Jessica's story became more than an accident. It became a reminder of how powerful nature truly is and how dangerous it can be when humans try to control it. And though her life ended in tragedy, Jessica Radcliffe will forever be remembered as the woman who gave everything to the creatures she loved most.